This, my voyage, these versicles, with a guide for every mood, hardly to be described, these highs and lows, brought hither by one's hand, lacking integration in the grips of unconscious forces.
Broken by the wind, in a world made of words, hoping against hope, hearing against heart. There is no time for otherness. We've already lost us to the dark. Sweeping through the ceaseless rings, commanded by the consequence. The little and the large alike are dropping off quietly to the side. By urgent invitation, the ghastly chatter of death has arrived, breaking what's left of the two of us in, to keep the work alive at the core of the score, surviving the tide, two witches on the wind, trolling their tongues, rolling their eyes, just to outlive their youth tonight. Harangues are heard among the throng, luxury and riot, hostile deeds of peace through autumn, feast and song. The deeper pockets of words, every single day of the way, like a war that's gone to whisper, where to wander and where to lay. When meeting the moment, eating the dark, what is there but to unbuild?
God bites into the bones of men on an island somewhere in the form of a sequel, sown with salt, where the light of the sun is withheld, this hopeless raven heresy, slinking about in darkness, ad nauseum, delighting in a vain and vicious nature, a highland though funeral fling.
Blood must be paid for man. I'm left easily forgot, complete with guile, sleeping outside and coming in hot. A continual watch for wisdom's way, the other none. Instinctive flash versus ponderous perfection. Barking mad, completely trashed with nothing won. My inner damage is immense. My outer damage is done. Cloistered at home, I can't resist my living death. Accepting alone this dreadful voyage. Through a dark and dreary veil, I am foiled with loss, my untamed reluctance. At whatever may be the cost, I drive, as I am driven to walk. The foot voyage of a lifetime, I can see the field from here. Standing in the rain, moving along until it's gone. Such is life in the back of the weird lane. An imaginary revolution, stumbling in the dark, with more than enough to die on. What could be better than never? The perfect recluse, coming together at the bottom of the abyss, dreaming of the prize its heart deserved and only missed. Purified in a forge of adversity, I have so much trouble unraveling. And aware of the modifications, to abstain has become my sole duty. I will live with myself in another age. Let them enjoy my disgrace, page after page. Existing only in memory, I've been eaten alive, wilted by sadness, a mind bedecked in flowers, with a bad luck that borders on marvelous. Let me learn to suffer without a murmur, lured by hope. I am a true beginner, but fate keeps throwing me back. I'm just not big enough. Everything contributes to my detachment. Obtaining less, I hope for little. The secret wishes of my battered ears, bathed in the silence of passion, a newer level in the art of harm. Falling into heaviness, selling off the farm, I savor the labor I feel in my bones. And from this very vice, I'm leaving what's loose, alone tonight. Swaying in the mystery dance of moments, I have the cold on my side. I should have known that I was crazy. A strategy for silence long before the book. Joy is more a friend of pennies, although it's harder than it looks. Keep me in your stares. I'll be in the woods. Beds are giving me nightmares. I've got to get back on the monkey bars. Keep me in your stares, keep me in your stars. Glitches get stitches wherever they are. It's no wonder the real fun is homeless. It's an odd state of soul when the void starts letting go. Dressing to depress, all these signs of decline. Look at all this mess. Progress is poison when you're short on time. In a mansion of mourning, to the applause of bones. The mother of all devils, so lately deprived for wondering why. Pop goes the glowworm, busted at the red light. I am alone, sleeping on the sidewalks of the unknown. Out at the elbows, a drab and lifeless hellmate of my very own. Send me somewhere safe to live with death. The stillness may soon be shattered. I am a man apart. It's hard to tell if anything matters. There's two different answers in my heart. I've not seen such nothing ever. What a freaky invitation to frolic. However I sink, I'm thinking of her, hanging out of her dress, making a stir. In a mask made of feathers, worn by someone in love hundreds of years ago. Leaping into the burning night, I have fallen for the void. Unprepared for affection, the verse-chorus-verse thing is no longer employed. Seeking soul only to inspect it. It's my party, and the night is old. Only essence remains. The games have grown cold, stained by the mystic horror and fragrance in the first blue hour of the movie. Left here to be hidden, a sequent king, seeking to be. The world has moved on, and I have not. I will finish me tomorrow, in the study, with the scythe, a war on foot, and words built to stain. The night is in the air, leaving scythe marks in the rain. Depression likes to comb my hair and walk around my heart calling out your name in its underwear. The world has moved on, and I have blathered for too long, like cries that have passed through fire. I am far in the dark by now, a war of words with two-handed sway, far off and fearless. Depression looks the other way. How we loved each other once, eyes lost in the distance of the day, all night long. The last money in, and the first money gone. From the woods of my words, the love has been lost, if not enabled. It's no wonder everything I have is on the table. I am an art film, stabbed in the darkness. My void is leaking out, made lovesick, smoking roses. I am arming to overcome, moonstruck with madness, earning my rest from labor I have won. A fool under the mountain, with a wolf at the door, remembering when it wasn't just folklore.
The glories of the saints are tinsel, suburban, if not impossible. These savage phantasms, different colored fires, caught up in the sticker bushes and blown out in the briars. So much so, I can't let go. A psychic transformation, pulled apart by horses. The scryer is back, brushed upon, and smothered along. A solitude in spirit. The monkey on the moon. Like a typhoon in a teacup, challenging the room. Not all oblivion is created equal.
To live again as our foremothers did, finding in the verse the sleeves of fallen women, like juices cooked in madder meadows, a four-handed dustpan, weeping in the shadows, likely to be for the bold, with a much keener ear sight than the rest of the fold. Thirsting in gray silence for the strength of night, best seen bare beneath the moon, gleaming in the grime, drunken with terrible hope. In the mossy love of the greater unknown, it's getting darker still and harder to cope. Say what you will, but leave me alone. Wise in a new way, I have roots in the future. For giving me back my world at last, I am a book that is broken with the past. A kettle of fish, out of water, struggling to express what is most secret. My minus side, suckled by wolves. A fugitive ghost where the light is right. It wounds the night the most. A sea of poems from a brighter world, slamming into the coast. The insupperable odds, like a letter drawing blood from the girls and for the gods. On a battlefield that I have made of me, lost in the darkness. Effortlessly, there's always room at the very bottom. Hold the gain and let it rain. When it comes to sleeping my guts out, there's nobody even in the same building. I will always die on time. A wild and woolly evolution of fire and feathers and danger signs. Weathered together an outlier, on the brink, bar none, all-star aware. Racked by the wheel of time and its hoe-hold, my stomach is always empty, walking its way through hunger, the warp and the woof of some inner truth that's run aloof with wonder. The sacredest disorder of the mind, it will regard you as a clown and beat you every time, hands down. Whatever it is, it will be taken. With a vengeance, nothing but the know-how, the master and the slave of the silence. A saint in reverse. Conventionally polite, at first. The darker it gets inside, blotting out the memory of a wound that runs deeper than the river of my life. Learning the notness of everything, as real as the fear that calls it all forth. The very voice of quiet. Making its presence felt, a prelude to my dance of death. The further I fly, the darker it gets. I have spread my ruins. I have nothing left. I fear no second fate. Having met the noise of this infernal fire, the unsettled states of things, the endings and beginnings are bound by policy and process of time and sound. Wandering off a darksome ghost, at the changing of the guard, awake and arise, or be forever fallen, under the cope of hell, clad with vines, the tolling of the bell. Resounding in fable, the midnight revels, as everything is on the celestial table, by the forest side, frequent and full, sanctitude severe, where rust never dwells, and hope is never here.
And from a coma, merely half of nothing, a huckleberry Yoda, he'll be there sometime tonight. A man shod with the shady side, looking to cloth with flesh, a little bit of what's left of what's right. A gun runner from the abyss, a legend of the otherness. Fractionation of the random, brooding on food for thought. Gently out to sea we seem to flee, and out of keeping. We, the people at the bottom of the valley, hardly one noble contour, but a hideous heap of shapeless drab. Crag fast, in a perfectly easy place, to have led the flock too far afield in the climate of the island, this sleepy, sticky place where all the spendthrift splendor does is show its ugly face.
God has gone wild, bored and dangerous, walking for miles. The purest resurrection of even so, rungs above the rest, looking for a place to land where catastrophe feels the best. Lowered down by wolves, a dragon in the factory of man, in the city of the woods, a stationary creation, the excavation of Eve. Starting all the way over, I dug her up from the knees, doomed to be beautiful and hard to believe. God has gone wild, plumb in the uprights, mile for mile, already vain and void. Now is the moon, ushering in the evening cool, entertained with solitude. Love is nowhere in this look. I have been devolved in level land. My lot will lead, and found a path through thorn and thistle, gathering up my doom at last. Why do I overlive, and why do I ask?
Though petrified hard into a stony silence, I'm still painting with these fingerprints, and looking to throw the ball through the wall, evermore, ever hence. Free to wing the winds, to recapture the first fine, careless stir, slunk into the slow, risking it all on a hazard. Tyranny always trembles, learning to fall before the bones become brittle. The rubric of a ritual perishing in the process, caught in the teeth of a gale, dead set on attainment, and not by conventional code or scale, but of a series of disconnected accidents made with the racing rhythms of rapture.
Grinding the air, attrite to fire, the waters of life, all deeper and higher, dreaming to love forever. Is this the way to native dust? I attend my dissolution, where the morning sun first warmly was. I land on the moment, finding my way. Into the clear, the death of a showman, I think to my ears, surrendering to the memories. How can I reach my heart from here? Everything is new but me. No more dabble with the rabble. I don't even like these songs. Going into battle in art, in action, mechanically removed of emotion. A method that's based on a mystery and traction. Public enemy number one too many. The un-me obeys his wounds. The evil is everywhere, and mine is a war on foot. Like water, just enough to make it last. Off the beaten poet, the warpath is a blast. Looking to survive these ghosts of mine, all of whom are on the inside, waiting diligently, and not to be taken alive. A brand new lease on lust, with only eyes to answer mine. Bleeding from its feelings, a love with no designs, a finished world of thought, where one has been a crowd for much longer than it ought. So hide my thighs inside her wings, for the death of me to forget. I will need time to sort these things and get it all done while the paint's still wet. Hen's teeth, as routine goes with a radical slant, for those who know, in the arms of nevermore, what's to be said for abomination, drifting too far from shore? An excess employed to the wheels of all, finding and going along with the sound. I may be going sideways, but I am not going down. For all the facts the heart can feel, tonight is a flight from light in my darkest world of words, a circus of a scattered soul that tore up the playbook and threw it in the road. An illusion that saves everything from a preaching that hides nothing. On a campaign defeated in advance, I try to fight back in verse. If just given half the chance, I know that I can make things worse. Like a dead man sleeping, I have barriers in between me's, in which I can find myself. In Puddletown, on the River Piddle, several different cigar store Indians that I have been since I was very little.
Through and in the wind of light, detecting imposition on the instant, to pacify the warders with their secretest of sins, splashed with ditch water over and over, again and again, driven ever darkly onward, forged till fresh in the fires of fate, hung dry by a shoreless sky of sentinel songs and snakes. O Venus of the hollow hill, can you meet me there tonight? I'm dreaming of the meaning still, as the augury of adventure bury its barb in the heart of the light, beneath a tree in the yard.
The goal has always been beyond. I love her hair. I should know better. Beware the man of open spaces, always alive from the floor, stranger than all the strangest places, an unyielding evidence of life, revolt, and the darkness with which it struggles. It may not be the best, but it could be the most. The will is only the agent here. I will obey the ghost. The mind must meet the night with the music, living out the adventure, restoring to remorse its futility. I know my frontiers. I'm lucky to be this lonely.
Ride to that distant hill. About 100 feet up and to the right, you'll find a small cave. He is there. Do not say a single word to him. Bring the man to me, weeping, tied to a rope behind a horse, with a speechless rider, taking him toward the unknown. Several times, with all of his might, tries to break free. The rider stops, dismounts, brings his eyes near the prisoner's eyes. A deep kindness there communicates an unbelievable hope. The rider motions.
By the wool of the wizardry, among the languages of the flesh, an object lesson, with all the ingredients of an abject mess. In the year of the shark, lore is only good as it lives, a poet of night stones and quick earth, tethered to the trailer park. In and of himself, for everything he's worth. Materia medica, the call of the loon, like ice in a vase, forever wild as the moon with a flare for the strays, on a ladder to Saturn borne away by the waves. Letters and patterns, lost in darkness and distance. Twitter your thin little song, little wren, along the sea of least resistance. An independent wealth of risk and shadows, listening with my skin. I court the surreal, spun with a vision, directly retired to the bigger deal. Alone at last, but what does it matter? The deeper the hole, the madder the hatter. Fruits and vengeance on patrol, island hopping to the textbook chatter. At the crack of doom we're spoken for, and less for now is even more. The logic runs down to the liquor store. The language of nature is written in the math. Zero the savior's a thing of the past. But praised be a little poverty. The wise man so confesses best. He who possesses little is that much less possessed. The greater arts of folly swim on top of all the rest. Qualms live on in psalms, so let there be hate, and they were blessed. Learning how to learn without a purse, and creeping even deeper yet. A soldier of nowhere, solemn and disguised, gone with a gleam, a word to the wise. Look out from your lattice, and look out from your plow. Passing through the night of fires, the monkey let the teachers out. Binding the minds of the few, the right kind of dive where the light is the truth. Taverns and combs, caverns and tombs, wherever she is, there's love in the room. It's a business mission of a temple nature. 3 sixes and a Paracelsus, with nothing left to wager. At last and long we meet again, elevated to an art form on location. The weirdest herd I've ever seen. A genie and a demon in the moon machine. As an old world love meets a new world war, it's one vampire after another anymore. A face within the grace of madness ripe. A love that's made of nothing else tonight. The depth of the depth, sinking even higher by the hand of the witless width, warming its eyes by the fire. Mistaking the muse for the myth. Nature makes me out as unusual to begin with. Awkwardly awakened in the steepest of decline. It's a wonderful disdain. When my eyes get in the soap and with my hands behind my veins, I put my neck around the rope, dozing off in the days. With such a hand inside the stars, you'd think it was a cookie jar. A love so long, yet so remote from the King's Road house in a leopard coat. Dreaming up and sailing on, trying not to think too little. Sleeping in tongues at the top of the middle. Love is the lawless, drawing claws, the cannon fodder of my youth. These are my roots, crushed on like the truth. Where the rivers of monster magic run, unfortunately so, the fortunate one. Binding the blinding ambition, when does it end for the wind? I stick to my sources, in and over the landscape, softing off into the night. Injectors agape, from the valley of the apes. Excelsior at the door, moving down through the town of worms. We used to be tight, but not anymore. Time takes another cigarette and throws it on the floor. Madness is on the one, for a lifetime in the trenches of oblivion. I scream for more loneliness. A nudist column, for the ears. A past put to rest, like a prom dress. My lingering eyes that seek to admire the right kind of darkness walking through fire. In a garden of wild time, a war being fought in the center of the mind. On a river of unresolved, darker than hell, and dug in deep. In consistence with the invention of graveyard TV. It's all about ground clearance and cinematography. In a rage with the reach of a knife thrust. The last TV dinner by decree or bust. Painting pictures obliviously, children with the fireflies. No more alive than half asleep. A ragtag couple of ruffians leaning on the beat at the corner of chocolate alcohol and Second Street. The slower burn return to basics. Putting a little purity back into the playlist, calling off the fish. In a head-on collision with inhibition, a band of two who can't resist. The many will become few when the fire begins to bloom. We'll need a safer place for casting spells amongst the makers of the moon.
You are the sun in drag. You are God hiding from yourself. Remove all the mine. That is the veil. Why ever worry about anything? The appearance of this world is a magi's brilliant trick, though its affairs are nothing into nothing. You are a divine elephant with amnesia, trying to live in an ant-hole. Sweetheart, oh sweetheart, you are God in drag. The mind is ever a tourist, wanting to touch and buy new things, then toss them into an already filled closet. So I craft my words into those guides that will offer you something fresh from the Hidden's Tavern. Few things are stronger than the mind's need for diverse experience. I am glad not many men or women can remain faithful lovers to the unreal. There is a kind of adultery that God encourages. Your spirit needs to leave the bed of fear. The gross, the subtle, the mental worlds become as a worthless husband. Women need to utilize their superior intelligence about love so that their hour's legacy can make us all stronger and more clement. Sometimes a poem happens like this one. The mule I sit on while I recite starts off in one direction, but then gets drunk and lost in heaven.
A concentrated shrine of vice to the din of hordes and the open keys of lies. With only a knife he took his life, and everything else fell through the ice. To touch and to twitch as fair and free-born flowers do. The becoming of a lovely witch, no lovelier than you. 0.0 unbound, just to get away with being distant. Love is such a long way down. Mirror, mirror on the tree, how then shall I get to thee? The weight of golden moments, so unruly to the heart, these sweetest nerves of noise, only scraped at and scratched apart. For as long as we could, we stayed young and in the woods. No sooner done than simply left adrift. Our cosmic inner freedoms were the tools by which we lived. Too many made-up memories. Such is what it was, be that as it is. Could there be a grander place than love? Anywhere in the mist, a deeper whirl of sound, or just some bigger bag of tricks? The devil's favorite daughter takes her time and makes it quick. A backward path falling off behind, for madmen only will get lonely in this new hell of mine. Uncommon creature, so very deep in the sea, tracing the grace, go lovingly. In a race through space from the shallows to the hallowed depths, the cool may never come again. Go lovingly, my friend. A thunder in mid-volley, far in the dark and dislodged, in a place no shadow stays. Sidelong, there we sat for days. The way it stands is the way it stays. Left in the dust of us, no money down, no rest for the rust. Smack dab in the bangs of never, the lines are alive and they're working together. On a throne made of bone, drowning in the grunge of the sun. The truth about the false starts, the pizza and the glow-in-the-dark arts. That slimy little faith claimer, time and the price of the right device. Casing the mark in the war room with elbow patches and pipes. Hollowed out on my way to the gods, like a dog fetching itself to death. The one that really turns the worm, the only kind of life that's left. The time is now. Go wild and fail. Chaos is the score with a bottle and a jail. A sea of impassable ice. He's got me by the throat. Down, periscope. I'm squeaking by on the edge of boiling clean. The random player in my head, this eager feeling of defeat. I'm squeaking by, but if the press starts smelling blood, don't come crying to me. A harmony to behold, half abashed, a union of minds sharing a soul. A serpent who is sleeping, healing in its rest, extenuating his stay at an alienated distance of impossible distaste. Hearts in the dark are we, worthy of the sacred silence to be heard, an orb within an orb. Word within word, passing the longer way through the hostile scorn, a swift destruction doomed to be reborn. In a cabin built of second thoughts and the pleasures of bringing torment within. Down to the sea, as tedious a havoc as the two of us for tea would be. Of the deadbeat elite, I feed upon her stream. And with a kiss, she murders me. Twixt crimson shame and mystery, so gently down the stream with time enough to disappear, if just to get away from here. Roll the tongue and roll the eye, the fairest of all the stars. Last in the train of night, rapscallion as we gather here again, she hides in my hair. Let us live deliciously walking these streets of stairs. Gently down the stream, she murders me there. A love that never left. I miss her face, I miss her flesh. Blazing some bold and daring new past. Something seems to be whispering, and I am listening at last. A travesty of a curtsy. On the morning of the march, Jekyll and hide and seek and me. From the dark side of the sandhills, stooping down to squeeze your teeth. Superstition is in need of relief. You don't want to go where he goes to get those songs. A timeless architecture, frozen in space, where there's no such thing as sing-alongs. I am the sound of being alone, and I'm not leaving till I'm gone. Evermore a priest of nothing, chasing the day away, skipping meals galore. Is it the sea I hear in you, scathed in your radiance? I was hired to walk the dead. Oh, the watch I keep, a trollop on the troll road. Press on, cast into an incomprehensible chaos. Play death for me, darling.
The sun once glimpsed God's true nature and has never been the same. Thus that radiant sphere constantly pours its energy upon this earth, as he does from behind the veil. With a wonderful God like that, why isn't everyone a screaming drunk? Any thought that you are better or less than another man quickly breaks the wine glass.
Hidden in the mazy folds of dark, the subtlest beast of all the fields, as wide as I need to park. Making matters worse than real, a stranger alteration for having grown so quickly, sin and her shadow, me. The black-eyed God with bite, the needle-drop spots on the old dirt rose, all through the day and most of the night. And grief lies onward, as the joy behind. Under that robe is a wardrobe, a maker of music, losing his mind, homesick for a bit of sadness. Truth and beauty's doom and date, everything belongs to the power it takes. I turn you sideways when you see me fly like a monkey on high in the hills. Slumming on television, look upon your monster, you butcher. The hidden one in the front, hunted by the devil until this thing is done. I'm starting to fear that I walked here. Nowhere to lay, nowhere to run. Schroeder's on a bender, heaps of happy nesting, hiding from the sun in a ghost-ridden house where midnight's number one. A phantom carriage vision on a voyage to the spoon. Cloaked in dark enough decisions, a full-on Congress on the moon, bullets dipped in lipstick on the edge of another reign to wear, filled in good by the mind and the myth. In love and war, what's fair is fair. If you're happy and you know it, you better just beware. Through the sluices of time, the most perilous of courses, this certitude right here of mine, a prince and a pauper, I am the equal sign. The most alive of all the dead. The very lie that reveals the truth instead. The silence it creates is deafening, engraved on the face of the mystery's heart. The revolution is still intact, but the wheel is falling apart. A hunger on all fronts, bearing down at once, breadlines and dugouts, mine food and a place to flop. A hair-trigger eternity with holes in its socks. The greater morgue of poetry, giving up the ghost and putting on the flesh and staring down the clock. Just in case I die of what's left. To create and give shape to my fate, and for nothing but a starless dog of the seasons who gets paid to run away. A hard-won story of hell, complete Saturday in retrograde, I am lifted to my feet. In this intensive stair unit, Fantastique opened in the hills like a spacious wound I've emptied out of storyboards and sleeping pills. winged with the speed to feed the sound, for the people who can't resist between the late and the early. Such meaningful magiclessness, hand in glove, one of the true and the very few. As the liquid fire rises, I have all that is needed. Though waves are returning too quickly for me, the good just seems lost in the evilry. Faithful to the integrity of opinion, a dead man running the field is calling. For all the forest heart and hind, the charmed Arcadian pipe divine. Wedge your way to wing the region, sole victor among the trees who removes his ways from humanities. Wandering the sacred shades of matter unformed and void, dividing the water from the water, studious thoughts abstruse. A world unborn that is made of you. Along the alien fields I had heard of things so high. Night will bring her silence. Fraud under force is running for its life. I whisper to the woods, I'm gonna need a bigger knife. To worry, in a powerful hurry, the ornery, oozing with incentive, waked by the circling hours, dying to learn to live. I don't leave things behind me, I leave them inside me. Almost homeless and heavily guarded as the music is. The dream has been discarded. Before long, I too will be left free. For the lack of interest, the crooked sake of mystery. Almost human, almost homeless. And how sweet it is as the music used to be. I gotta find me some strings to pull. Some cause to rejoice with the horses and the hounds. Some idiothood and the course and the cause of losing sight of the sound. Oh, I'm almost homeless deep in the shadows. Nowhere bound. I've got it all sewn up, climbing as fast as I'm falling, fast asleep on the ground. I've got it all sewn up every time I turn around. Nursing a viper in the bosom of this town. A reptile at the gates of dusk who loves you with his fear, but never again will it be as it was. Fortune favors the bold. If you give it a kiss, it might wake up. The very means with which to proceed beyond. Buying off unhappiness is nothing new to me. Covered in a campfire for everyone to see that perfect end no eye can reach. Me and my wow of poverty. Like a spaceship looking for the funk. Feeling out of focus. Holding candles to the sun. History awaiting justice. Almost homeless, almost done. And so forever let it haunt among the bowers and the fireflies. There is nothing else I want that isn't in your eyes.
Resist your temptation to lie by speaking of separation. Otherwise, we might have to medicate you. In the ocean, a lot goes on beneath your eyes. Listen, they have clinics there too, for the insane who persist in saying things like, I am independent from the sea. God is not always around, gently pressing against my body. I know the idiot's warehouse is always full. I know each of us could run back and forth from there all day long and show everyone our vast collection. Though tonight, retire from the madness for an hour. Gather with some loyal friends, or sit alone and sing beautiful songs.
By the bitten moon, from the middle of the room, an Arctic desert in the stars, of celluloid and gloom. There's good news and there's other news, and In the wake of all this attitude meddling with the flesh and love abuse, the showman must go on, however out of touch. A singer for the sake of it is never quite enough. Reabsorbed by you, it's crazier than true. Looking for a window in a movie we should do. I heard the songs of vintagers, mystical and mighty words of death by misadventure. The deed that shakes the dark is grand. The vision rises off the page. One long slither in the sand, a spectral stay much worse than fate. To hell with technicalities, flirting with the squalor business, shaping my trajectory. The idiot of the hour, hanging from the hemlock tree. Blasted to the senses, branded to the bone, a sigil in the dustage, whose death is on the phone. The years have acted on the nerves, the memories of a one-man band, whose world is a projection room that nothing understands. One tends to bend, return, descend. It just depends on who's pretending again and who's doing the bending. I've been shrinking ever since. I need something in my size. There's nothing left to rinse. Wipe this madness from my eyes. In the circle of these holy stones, divine disdain reserves the right to darken up and roll the bones tonight. She'll be coming round the Wildwood Church and leaving a believer if the music doesn't get there first. In a whisper with no filter, maybe screaming bloody murder in a van down by the river of the wayward. The showman must go on, holy and so hideous. The spider comes along with a flower in its fist. Reabsorbed by you, it's crazier than true, daring us to do what we're dying to.